ASMR Coffin Radio.
Welcome to another exciting episode of Coffin Radio. I am Heartthrob Rob, and today we're reviewing Dark Side of the Ring, Season 3, Episode 7, The Dynamite Kid. Bio here reads, The Dynamite Kid earned worldwide fame with a riveting, self-sacrificing style, but violent confrontations outside the ring would destroy his family, his body, and his legacy. Wow, what an episode here of Dark Side of the Ring, man. You know what? Most of the time, when they have people on this show, I know exactly who they are. I know everything about them. I know a lot about their history. But the Canadian guys, a little bit, I don't know them as well. Dynamite Kid, I did not hear about till years later because he has such a fast and explosive career. And when you hear about his whole story, so a lot of this stuff was very new to me. I know who he is now, but when I watched this, I still learned a lot. So this episode was really good. We learned about Tom Billington, who comes up and he's under Stampede Wrestling, which is, obviously Stu Hart's promotion at the time. And man, I know him from Bret Hart, and Bret Hart says that even he was afraid to wrestle Dynamite. The Dynamite was fucking way ahead of him at the time. Dynamite actually ends up marrying, when she's 18, he ends up marrying Julie Hart, which is Bret Hart's wife, her sister, excuse me. So, and his cousin is British Bulldog. Dude, you're integral. Like, Bret and Davey Boy's career are like this, especially in 1992 with the Wembley Stadium. You're freaking connected to both of them like that, and you're in Stampede, and obviously, like, you gave birth to the styles that, like, Owen Hart, Eddie Guerrero, Chris Jericho, all these other guys that are going to come in later. Like, you invented that junior heavyweight strong style. Like, now you can be that size and it was nothing, but we're talking about the era of fucking Hulk Hogan and shit like that, where you have to be 6'4" to be a wrestler. Meanwhile, he's a scrawny 5'10" and has to make his way fucking through all the land of the giants. Prior to, after Stampede folds, he actually goes to Japan, where he wrestles the original Tiger Mask, and there's where he has the 5-star matches. I'm a huge wrestling fan, and the very first, I'd always heard about those matches or whatever, so I'm like, okay, I'll watch it. And I was like grown already when I watched it, probably like 23, 24, and when I watched it, I was like, oh my fucking god, these guys were like having like 2001 type matches, but meanwhile it's 1984 when they're doing this shit. Just totally crazy, the things that they're able to do. After he has these classics with the original Tiger Mask, he comes over to WWF and joins the British Bulldog and Bret Hart and the rest of the crew. And this is 1986, and at WrestleMania 2 actually is when British Bulldog and Davey Boy are actually able to get the WWF tag team titles. But at the rate that Tom Billington, Dynamite Kid, is working, his back is going out. He's just messing himself up. He's beating the shit out of himself. They actually show a match that he has against Mick Foley. It's Mick Foley's second match, and Dynamite Kid just rocks him with these heavy clothesline, but he really just clubs him in the mouth, and he dislocates Mick's jaw. And Mick doesn't hold any hard feelings, but he's just he got a real tough education that night. But Dynamite is just putting his body on the line every night and just doing these crazy things. And he's just an old school kind of guy where you have to really pay your dues. So they show when he gets into a fight with Jacques Rougeau that he fucking he's had enough of Jacques' bullshit for the night, of Jacques just kind of talking shit, not to him, but just kind of a loudmouth. And he ends up beating the shit out of Jacques Rougeau. And Jacques Rougeau, a Canadian dude, the Quebecer, one of the Quebecers, he decides he's going to get him. So when he comes back 2 weeks later to confronts Tom, he grabs a roll of quarters and just boom, bops him out his shit. And from there, his career just hits this downward spiral because Vince can't let you do shit like that. And then his back goes out, and the way that the Bulldogs have to lose the titles to the Hart Foundation, Vince has just had enough. So he goes back to Japan, has some matches there, but even then his back is just torn to pieces. And during this time, as he's coming down from all these steroids, and they have like stories from Dan Spivey, Lance Storm is also telling stories. They have the wife here his ex-wife telling stories, and his daughters, and he's just going off the rails. He'll just shotgun to his wife at one point, and he just goes back to England because he's just had it enough. He's just fucked his life up over here. He's roid rage and a bad ribber, so it's just really bad stuff. And they hear from his stories, even from a Tom McGee, not that Tom McGee, but a different Tom McGee, that he was bare knuckle boxing to pay the bills, just in crazy parking lots with the cars and the lights all on you, and he's doing that just to pay the bills. And it's just a sad story. I mean, the man he retired in 1991, I think, something like that. They dropped the titles from WWF in '89, or excuse me, in '89 is when they were like done with the Federation, or '88, I think it might be '88. I think it's 1988. Let's call it 89, but I think it's 88. But I mean, you start there in WWF in what, 86, like I said, and you're only there for 3 years, and that's like what your whole career is. It's just these 3 years. You're really a flash in the pan. It sucks. You gave it your all, but you could have had a long career. And it's just sad that we see that this like whole generation of wrestlers that are, really, really influenced by him, and he's the one who fucking wrecked his whole life. You know what I mean? Davey Boy had a much bigger career than him. And the wife is just sad because she says, everyone else has done way worse things, and they get their accolades and get the recognition they deserve, and they don't give Tom that because they don't give Dynamite Kid that. And there's some parallels where Chris Benoit said that his favorite wrestler of all time was Dynamite Kid, and that's who he wanted to emulate. And I'm sure WWF wants to turn a blind eye towards stuff like that. And with Tom having the style that everyone emulates, but again, you just sit here for 3 years. So it's a very sad story in here in this episode, Dark Side of the Ring, but it's very well put together, and I really liked it. And that's all, man. I mean, it's a very cautionary tale of giving it your all. I think there's much better ways to do it. This strong style junior heavyweight thing that they got going on, but crazy to see here, man. But let me know what you guys think about it. We'll talk about it in the comments. Make sure you like and subscribe. And if you like what you're watching, then hop in the coffin. Follow us on social media at Coffin Radio. Coffin spelled with a K. That's all for today.
ASMR Coffin Radio.